tying your camel. So we don't want to minimize work. We don't want to make tawakkul turn into complacency and passiveness. Absolutely not.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم إنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك واشرح صدورنا لنور كتابك وسنة نبيك واحفظنا عن زلل وخطأ في بيان مرادك. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. بسم الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وهذا آية كمال السبب وكثرة الاتصال تؤذن بكثرة العلة وترجيع بقوة الدليل لا بكثرته ولا قوة هنا لظهور الأخرى بمقابلته.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we'll just go back again and restart this piece. We can follow the discussion. So we continue with Kitab al-Shifa, and we're now discussing the scenario where there are many Shufa'a. Many people have come forward to claim Shufa'a because there are multiple partners, for example, 5, 6, 7, whatever the amount may be, and they're all claiming Shufa'a. So what do we do in such an instance? How do we divide the estate, the property, the plot in this instance? The same way that اجتمع الشفعاء, Imam Qudri Rahmah says, إذا اجتمع الشفعاء فالشفعة بينهم على عدد رؤوسهم. That if many shafis, if there are many claimants to shufa, then the shufa will be divided amongst them in accordance to the number of persons that are claiming, in according to the number of claimants. Ru'us, as I mentioned before, in Arabic, sometimes you mention a part, but you mean the whole. So, على قدر رؤوسهم على قدر عددهم. Sometimes we do this in English as well. So if there are 5 people, then it will be divided in fifths. If there are 3 people, in thirds, and so on and so forth. And each one will get a equal share. ولا يعتبر اختلاف الأملاك. And in this instance here, we will not take into consideration the differing shares that they have in that estate or plot. Right? So if one contributed to the purchase of the property 50%, one contributed 20%, one contributed 30%, of the total amount. So their share is 50, 20, and 30% respectively. So we don't consider that how much ownership they have, but rather we look at the amount of people they are, and they are all equal, regardless of the share or the percentage that they own, their stake in that particular property or plot. وقال الشافعي, Imam Shafi'i says, على مقادير الأنصبة. That no, it will be divided according to the shares, according to the percentage of shares. And so they will be divided pro rata according to that. لأن الشفعة من مرافق الملك. Why? Because shuf'a is from the benefits, from the perks of ownership. One of the perks of ownership is that you're entitled to claim shuf'a. Al-ayra is not seen إنها لتكميل منفعته, that it is meaning shuf'a, or ownership rather. Shuf'a, is in order to complete the benefit and of ownership. Because by claiming shuf'a, you are increasing the percentage of your share over the entire property. it's basically because it's a perk, the outcome or the product of your of ownership. So therefore, shufa will resemble فأشبه ربح والغلة والولد والثمر. It will resemble these things here. That just as profit is a product of your capital, it is produced and it is an outcome of capital. You give 10 rand and you earn 15 rand, for example. That 5 rand is a product of the 10 rand. The benefit that comes from the capital, the amount that you invested, the amount that you put down, and the same thing will apply to any
Produce.
produce that the person has, as especially if it is co-owned. The ribh also, if it's co-owned, you sold, two people sold the house, one owned 60% and one owned 40%. So whatever profits they make from there, that person will get 60% according to his share, and the other one will get 40% according to his share. Same thing will be with produce. If two people produce some type of crop, and again the shares were differing, then they will get whatever profits come out of that. First of all, the crops itself will belong to them according to their shares, and if they sell it and make a profit from it, then it will be divided according to their shares. وَالثَّمَرَةُ same thing. وَالْوَلَدُ وَالثَّمَرَةُ same thing with the walad. If she has given birth to a child, then depending on what the co-owners have given towards payment of that walad, that is how they will. That's how much ownership they will have in the child of the walad. Prorata and something with thamara, any fruits that comes out of a orchard, whatever the case is, same thing they will apply as well. So the shuf'a resembles this. In which way? Just like how these are the product of, it is a result of it is a result of how much a person put in. So therefore, in the same way, shuf'a will be in accordance to how much a person paid in, whatever his capital amount was. This will be the dividend thereof. Walana, and we say, إنهم يستووا في سبب الاستحقاق. That no, they're all equal in the sabab, because that sabab or the cause, because the cause or the reason for which they are entitled to the shufa. They are all equal in the reason for which they are entitled to the shufa, which is ittisal, or ittisal. That is, all of these properties is connected, all of the ownership is co-joined, is connected. Okay? فَيَسْتَوُونَ فِي الْإِسْتِحْقَاقِ. So because the sabab is the same, the reason is the same amongst all of them, so therefore the right to claim will also be the same. أَلَا يُرَى, don't you see, لو أنه لو انفرد واحد منهم استحق كمال الشفعة. That if only one from all the partners had to claim the shufa, the others waived their right, and only one is putting in a claim, then he will be entitled to the entire amount, whatever is an offer. And so he won't get a share in accordance to, he won't get a share in accordance to his investment, but he will get the entire thing. You following?
Yeah.
وهذا آية كاملة. So this, yeah, meaning that he will be entitled to the entire thing. This is indicative of, indicates towards that the sabab, and the reason for him attaining that is complete and perfect, or it is to a perfect degree. وكثرة الاتصال تؤذن بكثرة الإلا. As regards the argument of كثرة الاتصال, meaning that a person has a greater share or greater percentage, he owns a greater percentage of it. So all this indicates towards, or it is indicative of, is that the illa in his regard is multiple. But there are multiple illas there, multiple reasons for ownership. However, in this part, tarjih yaqa'u bi quwwati dalil, la bi kathrati. Here we are giving preference because of the strength of proof, based upon the strength of the evidence, not based upon the multiplicity of evidence. And I explained this yesterday. Like if 2 people gave shahada towards something and 10 people gave shahada, it don't make a difference. It's not just between 2 and 10. Because we look at quwwat al-dalil, and how strong is the proof, not at how much people are giving evidence. Okay, and the Sharia has declared that 2 people are enough to give as a strong evidence. So irrespective of whether 2 people come forward as eyewitnesses or 10 people come forward, the kathra won't matter. So this is an important principle to remember, which can be applied to many things as well. For example, sometimes students may say that in this particular masala, the Ahnaf only have 2 or 3 dalail, and the opponent or the khasam, they have 10 dalail. So again, the kathra doesn't matter. It's the strength of the proof. How strong is the dalil and the proof for the Ahnaf, in our example, for the Ahnaf, how strong is the evidence in this particular masala for the Ahnaf. And if the evidence is strong, then the amount of dalil on the opposite side won't matter. Okay, so this is a very important principle that is discussing here in this bab, that their tarjih is given on the basis of a quwa, not kathra. So just because a person has more ownership, kathra, doesn't necessarily mean that he is quwa, that he has greater right. Wala quwwata hawna. There's no greater right here. There's no stronger or stronger dalil here, stronger proof or evidence here for that person. Why? لظهور الأخرى بمقاملته. Why? Because an equal right has come in opposition to him. So whether the person owns 50% and another person owns 10%, his quwwat al-sabab is equal to the quwwat al-sabab of the one who has kathra. You follow?
Yeah. So that's to do with their rights, not with the amount of money they put.
Yeah, we don't look at the amount of the investment, the percentage of the ownership in the property.
So it's just their right to the ownership.
Just the right to shufa, correct.
Sure.
And the sabab, the reason for which they have the right to claim shufa. Okay. Now he's saying, وَتَمَلُّكُ مِلْكِ الْغَيْرِ لَا يُجْعَلُ ثَمَرَةً مِنْ ثَمَرَاتِ مُلْكِهِ بِخِلَافِ الثَّمَرَةِ وَأَشْبَاهِهَا. Imam Shafi'i, or rather the argument they put forward was that it's equal to rib or the ghalla and so on and so forth. So we're saying that forcefully taking ownership of somebody else's property cannot be made a product of ownership, cannot be made a perk from the perks of ownership. That's what he's saying here is that in the case of where that person had profit, so that was because the profit was a direct outcome of his investment, right? 2 people bought something, or they sold a house, one gave 60%, other one gave 40%. So whatever the profit will be divided pro rata, 60 and 40, in accordance to the amount of money they put in. So that the profit is a direct consequence of their capital. You follow?
Yeah.
It's a product of the capital. Same thing with the other examples. But here, shufa is not a product of your capital. How does shufa become a product of the capital? You following? Why? Because you are taking somebody else's property by force. Remember, he doesn't have to agree to it. It's your right to claim it forcibly. So if he doesn't want to, he has to give it to you by shufa. So you're not claiming a perk of something that you own. Understand? That's his ownership. Got nothing to do with you. He owns that share or that place that he's selling, that apartment or that property or that plot. That person, the mushtari, the buyer, sorry, he's owning that thing. It's not of your ownership. In the case of ribh, that came as a direct perk and product of what you had, your capital investment, of what you own. You follow? So that makes sense for you to get in accordance pro rata. But here, you are claiming the right to take somebody's property, albeit by paying him, obviously, but you can force him to give it to you because of this haq. So haqqu shufa is not a product of ownership because you don't own that person's property. Understood?
Yeah.
You understand the answer to the jawab to the argument?
Sure.
Gee. So بخلاف الثمرة وأشباهها, contrary to what was mentioned of the produce and so forth and all the other like examples. Right. Now he's mentioning a few متفرعات, a few miscellaneous مسائل with regards to this. And ولو أسقط بعضهم, meaning that if we have multiple claimants, then these four مسائل, I think it is, what happens in these four instances. ولو أسقط بعضهم حقه, if some of them or one of them, remember I can come for one also, if one of them or some of them waiver their haq, I don't want it, فهي للباقين في الكل على عددهم. So then that shufa will be for the remaining the remaining persons or claimants according to the amount of people there are. Let's say there were 5 people. One said I don't want it. So now it will be divided quarters. It was going to be divided 1/5, but now it will be divided by quarters because now there's only 4 of them that laid a claim. Or let's say 3 said they don't want and 2 said we want. So now it will be divided 50-50, half. Follow?
Okay.
لأن الانتقاص لمزاحمة. Understand? Why? Because the only reason that we were giving a lesser portion, intiqas, a lesser portion, a deficient portion, not the whole thing. لمزاحمة was because there were multiple parties, like multiple claimants. Muzahamat is what came anytime before in Usul Shashi, is a crowd. And muzahama actually means a crowd, meaning there are multiple claimants. So we gave a lesser share because there were multiple people demanding a share in it. مع كمال السبب, together with complete reasons, and together with a perfect reason or perfect sabab. Okay? في حق كل منهم, in regards to every one of them. Okay? وقد انقطعت. However, this has come to an end. This has come to an end. وقد انقطعت meaning this is muzahama is no longer there because some of them have waived their right. You follow?
Yeah.
So then we will reduce or rather increase. We will increase the amount to be given to the remaining. And understood? Clear?
Yeah.
Masala number 2. ولو كان البعض غيبا, and if some of them are absent, and it will come in front there that obviously when as soon as you hear about the property going on the market, you have to make the claim, like shufa. That's a call for shufa. But let's say when this was done, when you went into the market, some of them were absent. They've gone overseas for business or hajj or umrah, whatever the case is. And what will happen? So they say يقضى بها بين الحضور على عددهم. That it will be judgment will be passed, meaning in court, with the shufa amongst whoever is present in accordance to their number. And so there are 5 partners, however, only 3 are present, 2 are gone, so they're not there. So it will be divided amongst those 3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Why? Okay?
Yeah.
Why? لأن الغائب لعله لا يطلب. Because it's possible, and he might claim, he might not claim, you don't know. There's a shak, there's a doubt there. So because the absent person, the absent party, perhaps he won't claim. Shufa, we don't know. Okay? So therefore we won't allocate or allot a portion for him because of this doubt. You can't be sure whether he will or not claim, and this thing has to be done now. وإن قضى لحاضر, third مسألة, وإن قضى لحاضر بالجميع, that if in Kulia, if judgment was passed for those that are present for the entire amount, ثم حضر آخر, then the one who was absent, he presented himself and he's claiming, وطلب, ثم حضر أي آخر وطلب, and now he's claiming the shufa, يقضى له بالنصف, then judgment will be given in his favor with half of it. They must all give half so that he gets a full share. ولو حضر ثالثا فبثلث, and if a third person comes, if the third person becomes available or he becomes present, then by 3, because now there's 3 people. Understand? So one third. فبثلث ما يليف كل واحد. So then we will judge, we will give him, he will be entitled to 1/3 of what is in the hands of each one of them. Why تحقيقا للتسوية, in order to establish equality. Last مسألة, fourth مسألة, فلو سلم الحاضر بعض ما قضى له بالجميع. That if the person who was present waivers his right, but after judgment was passed in his favor with the entire shufa, لا يأخذ القادم إلا النصف. Then the person who presents himself thereafter, he will not be allowed to take anything more than half. Then, while لأن قضاء القاضي بالكل للحاضر. Why? Because the judgment of the judge of the entire shufa for the person who was present, قطع حق الغائب عن النصف. And he moved the right of the absent person from half of the estate. And بخلاف ما قبل القضاء, contrary to if this was done prior to the judgment. You follow? So although the person waived his right, which means that the whole thing came back into play. You still understand?
No, I'm still confused with it, Masala.
Okay, right. So what happened was, in the previous masala we said, there are 2 partners, for example. One is absent, right? The one claimed the shufa, went to court, the judge said, okay, you can take the whole thing. We'll see when the other one comes back what happens, right? You follow? So he's got the whole shufa in his possession. Now, after that, after he was given that judgment, he waived his right. So, I don't want the shufa anymore. I don't want it anymore. Okay? Sorry. Now, in the previous slide, if the absent person comes home and he says, I want it, they'll be divided half or 50-50. Right? Got that? Right. Right. Next, this masala is what happens is he was given half. The Qadi ruled in his favor. Sorry, he was given the whole thing. Qadi ruled that he must take the whole thing. We worry about the absent person when he comes. When after the judgment, he decided to waive it. I don't want it anymore. I changed my mind. Even though it was already ruled in his favor. Right? Now when the absent person comes, so what it means is that the whole shufa is supposed to qiyas and supposed to have gone back into play. You follow? Because he waived his right. So he gave up the whole shufa. So the whole shufa is supposed to have been available for the absent person. You following? But now he's saying no, because the judgment of the Qadi took place, when the absent person returns, he can only still claim half. He will still only be entitled to half, just like in the masala prior to this.
Do you understand that one?
Understand now, right? He cannot claim the whole shufa, even though that person waived his 50%. Understood? Okay, shall I stop there? Any questions? Anything you didn't understand?
No, I understood it, man.
I mean. Okay, inshallah. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام.